The Painting of Sounds, Noises, and Smells by Carlo Carra, August 11, 1913. Before the 19th century, painting was an art of silence. The painters of antiquity, the Renaissance, the 17th and 18th centuries never envisaged the possibility of rendering sounds, noises, and smells in painting, even when they chose fragrant flowers, raging seas, or stormy skies as their themes. The Impressionists in their daring revolution made some confused and hesitant attempts at sounds and noises in their pictures. Before them, nothing, absolutely nothing. But we should point out at once that there is an enormous difference between the Impressionist mumblings and our Futurist paintings of sounds, noises, and smells, as great as that between a misty winter morning and a scorching summer afternoon, or better still, between the first breath of life and an adult man in full control of his powers. In their canvases, sounds and noises are expressed in such an attenuated and faded way that they seem to have been perceived by the eardrum of a deaf man. But this is not the occasion for a detailed account of the Impressionist principles and experiments, nor need we inquire minutely into all the reasons why the Impressionists never succeeded in painting sounds, noises, and smells. We shall only note the kind of thing which, had they had wanted to obtain genuine results, they would have had to destroy. 1. Their extremely vulgar trompe l'oeil perspectives, a game worthy of an academic of the Leonardo da Vinci sort, or of an idiotic set designer for Verismo operas. 2. The concept of color harmony, a characteristic defect of the French which has given them a fatal attraction for the elegant ways of Watteau and his like, and as a result led to the abuse of light blues, pale greens, violets, and pinks. Many times already we have said how much we disdain this tendency toward the soft, the effeminate, the gentle. 3. Contemplative idealism, which I have defined as a sentimental mimicry of apparent nature. This contemplative idealism contaminates the pictorial construction of the Impressionists, just as it contaminated that of their predecessors, Corot and Delacroix. 4. Anecdote and detail, which, although it is a reaction, an antidote to false academical construction, has almost always dragged them into a form of photography. As for the post and neo-impressionists, such as Matisse, Signac, and Seurat, we regretfully maintained that, far from envisaging the problem and facing up to the difficulties of getting sounds, noises, and smells in their paintings, they have preferred to withdraw into static representation in order to obtain a greater synthesis of form and color. Matisse and a systematic application of light, Signac, Seurat. Hence, we futurists attest that we are opening fresh paths and bringing the elements of sound, noise, and smell into painting. As artists, we have already created a love of modern life and its essential dynamism, full of sounds, noises, and smells, and have thereby destroyed the stupid mania for the solemn, for humans draped in togas, for the serene, the erotic, and the mummified, in short, for everything purely intellectual. The wireless imagination, words and freedom, the systematic use of automatopoeia, anti-graceful music without continuous steady rhythm, and the art of noises, are all derived from the same futurist sensibility which has generated the paintings of sounds, noises, and smells. It is indisputably true that 1. Silence is static and sounds, noises, and smells are dynamic. 2. Sounds, noises, and smells are none other than different forms and intensities of vibration. And 3. Any continued series of sounds, noises, and smells imprints on the mind an arabesque of form and color. We therefore have to measure these intensities and envisage their arabesques. The painting of sounds, noises, and smells rejects 1. All subdued colors, even those obtained directly and without the help of tricks such as patinas and glazes. 2. The banality of velvets, silks, flesh tints which are too human, too fine, too soft, along with flowers which are excessively pale and drooping. 3. Grays, browns, and all muddy colors. 4. The use of pure horizontal, pure vertical lines, and all other dead lines. 5. The right angle which we consider passionless. 6. The cube, the pyramid, and all other static shapes. 7. The unities of time and place. The paintings of sounds, noises, and smells demands reds, reds, the reddest reds, the shout. 2. Greens that can never be greener, greens that scream. Yellows as explosive as possible, polenta yellows, saffron yellows, brass yellows. 3. All the colors of speed, joy, revelry, and fantastic carnivals, fireworks, café chants, and musical halls, all colors that are seen in movement, colors experienced in time and not space. 4. The dynamic arabesque as the sole reality created by the artist in the depth of his sensibility. 5. The shock of all acute angles, which we have already called angles of the will. 6. Oblique lines which affect the soul of the observer like so many bolts from the blue, along with lines of depth. 7. The sphere, helixes that whirl, upside down cones, spirals, and all the dynamic forms which the artist's infinite powers of genius can discover. 8. Perspective obtained not as a way of objectifying distances, but as a subjective interpretation of hard and soft, sharp and dull forms. 9. Signifying the painting's dynamic construction, its polyphonic architectural whole, conceived as every painting's universal subject, and its sole reason for being. Though architecture is often thought of as something static, this is wrong. What we have in mind is an architecture similar to the dynamic musical architecture achieved by the futurist musician Pratella. Architecture as seen in the movement of clouds or smoke blown by the wind, or of metallic structures when they are experienced in states of mind that are violent and chaotic. 10. The inverted cone, the natural shape of an explosion, the slanting cylinder and the slanting cone. 11. The collision of two cones at their apexes, the natural shape of a waterspout, cones that are bending or are formed with curving lines, a clown jumping, dancers. 12. The zigzag and the wavy line. 13. Ellipsoidal curves, seen like nets in movement. 14. Lines, volumes, and lights considered as part of a plastic transcendentalism, that is according to their special kind of curving or obliqueness, as shaped by the painter's state of mind. 15. The echoes of lines and volumes and movement. 16. Plastic complementarism, for both forms and colors, based on the law of equivalent contrast and on the clash of the most contrasting colors of the rainbow. This complementarism is constituted by the disequilibrium of forms, which therefore are forced to keep moving. What results is a destruction of the way volumes match or make pairs. We must reject these matchings, which, like a pair of crutches, allow only a single movement forward and backward, not the total sort of movement which we have called the spherical expansion of space. 17. Continuity and simultaneity in the plastic transcendencies of the animal, mineral, vegetable, and mechanical kingdoms. 18. Abstract plastic wholes, that is, that which corresponds not to sight, but to sensations which are generated by sounds, noises, and smells, and all the unknown forces involved in these. These plastic, polyphonic, polyrhythmic, and abstract wholes correspond to the necessity for an infernal and harmonic relation, which we futurist painters believe to be indispensable for pictorial sensibility. Because of their mysterious fascination, they are much more suggestive than those created by our visual and tactile senses, since they are so much closer to our pure plastic states of mind. We futurist painters maintain that sounds, noises, and smells are incorporated into the expression of lines, volumes, and colors, just as lines, volumes, and colors are incorporated into the architecture of a musical work. Our canvases in that event will express the plastic equivalent of the sounds, noises, and smells found in theaters, music halls, cinemas, brothels, railroad stations, ports, garages, hospitals, factories, etc., etc. From the formal point of view, there are sounds, noises, and smells which are concave, convex, triangular, ellipsoidal, oblong, conical, spherical, spiral, etc. From the color point of view, there are sounds, noises, and smells which are yellow, green, dark blue, violet. In railroad stations and garages, and throughout the mechanical or sporting world, sounds, noises, and smells are predominantly red. In restaurants and cafes, they are silver, yellow, and violet, while the sounds, noises, and smells of animals are yellow and blue. Those of women are green, blue, and violet. We are not exaggerating when we claim that smell alone is enough to determine in our minds arabesques of form and color, which could be said to constitute the motif and justify the necessity of a painting. If we are shut up in a dark room so that our sense of sight no longer works, with flowers, gasoline, or other things which a strong smell, our shaping imagination will gradually eliminate remembered sensations and construct a very special plastic whole, which corresponds perfectly in its quality of weight and movement with the smells contained in the room. These, through an obscure process, have become force environments, determining that state of mind, which for us futurist painters constitutes a pure plastic whole. Such bubbling and whirling of forms and light, both infused with and composed of sounds, noises, and smells, has been partially rendered by me in Anarchal Funeral and Jolts of a Taxicab by Boccioni, in States of Mind and Forces of a Street by Russolo, in The Revolt and Severini and Pan, all paintings which were violently debated in our first exhibition in Paris in 1912. This kind of bubbling over requires a great emotive effort, almost a delirium, on the part of the artist, who in order to render a vortex must be a vortex of sensation himself, a pictorial force and not a cold logical intellect. Know, therefore, in order to achieve this total painting, which demands the active cooperation of all the senses, a painting which is a plastic state of mind of the universal, one must paint as drunkards sing and vomit, sounds, noises, and smells.